We do what we want. That is the quote that forever haunts my nightmares. It is a quote that has forced me to live by a certain rule. One I haven't broke since I saw that ad. Avoid watching television from 1 to 6 a.m. So you can probably imagine the chill in my spine when my two children, Antonella and Pedro, retorted that exact phrase to me in defiance of my one rule. We do what we want. This rule stinks. It's just television, Papa.
No, it's late. You need to sleep. How will you grow big and strong without your sleep?
Oh, but just once.
No buts. It's already midnight. Mommy will tuck you in.
I looked over at my wife, Kay. Not even she understood why I lived by this strange rule. Her honey blonde hair swung back as she picked up Antonella and took the kids to their room. She turned and gave me an affectionate smile, one that told me that she knew everything I did was out of love for my children. That warm expression signaled respect for my strive to be a better parent than my alcoholic ones were. My parents' neglect may be the reason why I love Cartoon Network and my television so much. It served as my only escape from the nightly arguments, the fists in the wall, and the putrid smell of empty tequila bottles. Luckily, the stars aligned, and my childhood took place during the golden era of Cartoon Network, CN City. I could babble forever about the many colorful shows I loved. However, nothing will ever beat the feeling of laying in my pajamas on my bed and watching Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It almost always drowned out my parents' loud fights. Besides the main programs themselves, Cartoon Network ran these bumpers of a CGI Cartoon City with all the popular characters living together. For me, it was paradise on the screen. However, not even the nostalgia could wipe out the memory of that cursed silhouette. Kay returned to our room, but stood at the door and gave me her detective glance. What program traumatized you after 1 a.m.? Straight to the point. That's why I married her.
It wasn't a program. It was more of an ad, I guess.
Oh? Like one of those unsettling anti-smoking ads, or...
No, it was a Cartoon Network commercial.
But doesn't Adult Swim run during the night block on that channel? Kay's observation was the same one I had that horrible night in 2008. It was one that told me something was terribly awry. Whenever a young me awoke from a nightmare, my parents were typically out drinking, so no one could really comfort me. How I would have killed for a hug. Thus, I got accustomed to it, so I usually just turned on the tiny TV in my room and fell asleep to whatever program was on. That one night, I followed my standard procedure and turned on my TV to hear chickens clucking at the end credits of a Robot Chicken episode. I laughed. Something about the melodic clucking was comforting. The program then transitioned to a strange scene. Not a TV show or an Adult Swim ad either. It was a live-action ad that started with an unsettlingly fast piano in a child's darkened room. A narrator then uttered,
A father tucks in his child.
On the bottom right, I could peer a Cartoon Network logo, but I knew it was not CN time. My Power Rangers alarm read 1:33 a.m. No, something was off about this ad. The unsettling piano continued as a father tucked his child into bed. The piano halted as a brown-haired child, no older than 8, pointed at a pitch-black wall. By this point, I felt uneasy as well. I wish I had instinctively turned off the TV right there and then. But where else was I going to find comfort to go back to bed? I wish I had been brave enough to press that off button on my remote. However, the father calmly went and turned on a lamp. Turning on a light typically means you have warded off evil, It equates to a sense of safety that the darkness and whatever was in there went away. How sorely mistaken I was. The television screen revealed the image of a grotesque black creature with bulging eyes and disproportionate nostrils. It stared directly at the screen as its finger pecked at its deformed nostrils. The narrator called it
El Coco.
However, the ad just went silent, and El Coco just stared blankly at the screen. No longer did I see the father or the child, just the creature's dead eyes. The monster had smiled at me, almost like if it knew I was desperate to get rid of it. In an adrenaline rush, I threw myself to the floor and unplugged the television in hopes of ending this nightmare. I looked up and my television was still on, and the monster's smile became wider. Was this some sort of a cruel Adult Swim prank? Did I drink my father's tequila before I went to bed? Was I still dreaming? I wanted to scream, but I couldn't, because I froze and realized the monster was lifting a claw and reaching out of the screen. I staggered out of my room like a clumsy child, only to turn my head and see its silhouette forcefully pull itself out of the TV and lurch forward with force. I ran to my empty living room, only lit by the moonlight, and noticed two more oddities. The front door was open, and a crowbar right next to it. Yet my parents were not home, because I would have heard them arguing. The cabinets which contained jewelry and photos had also been searched through, because the contents were all over the floor.
Hey!
I turned, only to see a man in a mask holding a pistol and a bag. I wish I could have warned him to run, but my fear paralyzed my will to speak.
Crap, a stupid kid is here. You're trembling. Someone is scared of monsters. Now, go back to bed and nobody gets hurt,
he said as he pointed his pistol at me. I could only raise my trembling arm and point at El Coco before he could even register what actually made me tremble. The thief yelped in agony as the monster clawed at his face. He tried to shoot at the creature, but even if it had, I doubt it staggered it. The thief's cries for help were drowned by this creature's wicked laugh as it dragged him back to my room. This deformed incarnation of a cartoon, whatever it was, chewed through the bones of the thief's arm. I cannot imagine what set of teeth managed to produce that horrifying cracking noise. With one loud slam of my bedroom door, the man's painful shrieking stopped, and I heard one last thing from my TV. Cartoon Network, we do what we want. By the time I finished relaying the story to Kay, I was shaking and sweating uncontrollably. She did not stare at me like I was crazy, but instead put her hand on mine and embraced me like my mother never did after a nightmare. I looked back at her beautiful brown eyes.
Sorry to break our silence, but I need some water. I'll be right back.
In my heightened sense of awareness, I couldn't fail but notice a dim light coming from the crack of the door leading to my living room. The clock above the door read 1:33 a.m. As I pushed the door open, I saw the television on and heard only loud static until I finally looked at the screen. The static cleared up to reveal my children's room. The black, malformed creature stood there grinning at the screen, and standing directly over Pedro and Antonella.